Thank you for joining us today for one of our webinars in a series of many to get prepared for the 2019 International Home and Houseware Show. Today, Matthew Goodman, our expert visual merchandiser and adjunct professor at FIT, will be going through how to make grandstands for people with smaller booth sizes, 10 by 10, 10 by 20, 10 by 30. But all these tips are great, just merchandising knowledge for the show. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matthew, and he's going to take you through a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nancy. It's a real great treat to be here, and I also can't wait in March as well. So this webinar is called Making Grandstands, Display Tips for Our New Exhibitors and exhibitors who have booths with feet or less. All exhibitors are welcome to partake in this webinar, and it's primarily focused on grooming display presentations up for our new exhibitors. And this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the IHA website under the Education tab. And for further information or introduction, you can contact Nancy, who just introduced me. She's our Senior Manager of Trade Show Business Development, or your sales representatives at 847-692-0139. So I'm Matthew. I'm giving this webinar. I am an honors graduate of FIT Fashion Institute in New York, where I returned as an adjunct professor. I'm also a licensed interior designer and architect, and I recently became certified as a PMP, project manager. And the reason why I like to mention that is because I get the design aspect of putting together a booth, but I also really like to specialize in the logistics and operations part of being the project manager for getting a booth together as well. So I understand the creative as well as the business logistics part of it, which we're really going to talk to and do a deep dive on today. And this is my contact information. I am available to IHA show members for consultation, and I'll take answers, and actually I'll take questions and answers throughout the presentation as well. So you're welcome to take a screenshot of my contact information, and I would love to speak with you in advance of the show or on site. So please join me. I'm a 20-year expert, and my background is in visual merchandising from global trade shows and national retail giants like Victoria's Secret, Macy's, Lord & Taylor, a lot of shopping mall developers. So today we'll discuss the essentials needed to bring a small booth and a great-looking booth to market. The IHA is holding its annual Excellent in Booth Design Competition and Awards based on many of the topics in this webinar. So visit us at the URL below and sign up today. Contact Nancy for questions, or you can call her by the telephone number that's listed, or you can access this information through the marketing kit found on the housewares.org URL. So this webinar focuses on two sectors, and we talked about that in my background a little bit before. One's the operations section. So hang in there, folks. This part is the building blocks on the second half, which is, way much more fun. So Matthew's personal definition of building blocks is the dry info that we need to discuss the second half. So stick with me. Display and visual merchandising suggestions are the second half. And then this part is like way much more fun. And, also I'm a really fun guy, and I love to, have a great sense of humor, and I certainly hope it cuts through on this webinar. So let's dedicate your booth into making a little of your booth into making it just a little jewel, a gem. Small booths with a big impact have a greater chance of gaining attention. So the first part is the operations and the directions and the areas for this webinar. You're going to be receiving some things in advance of the show. First of all, you're going to be receiving basic show literature. This is your Exhibitor Service Manual, also called ESM, and your marketing kit. You'll also be receiving free services with your space, and you're also going to know about shipping guidance, and we're going to talk about hot button topics too. The display and visual merchandising suggestions sector of this webinar consists of rental versus owned booth shelves, lighting, graphic content, flooring, your company's marketing message, fixtures, video use, and your office area. So we'd like to share our basic display strategies to achieve a smart looking stand at the show. And the first thing I would say is identify a project manager or team within your firm and they're going to work on this booth. Your booth will have a higher success rate if someone oversees end-to-end production of your stand, not just, hopefully sending it to the show and making it happen. That person's going to oversee planning, production, procurement, shipping, installation, dismantle, storage, and closing. I know that's kind of a mouthful, but let's take it little by little. So the IHA, International Home and Houseware Show, is known within the industry as having a very high level of display elevation. So plan plenty of time to implement your booth, wisely select your product arrangement, procure items, purchase your items beyond the merchandise selection. Well, I know that you know a lot about your merchandise, but what about the other stuff? What about everything else beyond your merchandise? And feel good about arriving to market with a booth in which you can be proud to conduct business. So let's talk about that show literature, your ESM, your Exhibitor Services Manual. This manual spells out deadlines and offers order forms. Deadlines, guys. You'll gain access to vendor contact information, official general contractor information, and shipping by Freeman. You're going to hear that name a lot. Freeman, that's our general contractor. That's like our guys who are in charge of physically setting up a lot of the show, and you're going to run into a lot of Freeman as you appoint people at the show. There's also information in your ESM about show information, guidelines and policies, and meeting rooms. And remember, product is not allowed in the conference zones in the meeting rooms. Security and post-show donation program. So you can familiarize yourself with the ESM process and guides through our housewares.org/slow/ESM URL. Our exhibitor action checklist countdown is listed there as well through the ESM section, and it lists major due dates and deadlines. Also, cost-saving measures extracted from the ESM are featured as well, because the ESM tells you what you cannot do, and they tell you what you can do. So the cost-saving measures kind of will help you through that whole process and save you money and time. The Exhibitor Marketing Kit, that's another piece of show literature you're going to want to know about. Our kit offers marketing insights to attracting buyers, drawing consumer and trade news media, signage, displays and awards program. It's the Hall of Global Innovation and Excellence in Booth Competition, Inspired Home, Businesses to Consumer Platform, Boothmanship Guidance Webinars and Marketing Kit Deadlines. Exhibitors can pre-register or listen to year-round webinars found through our website's Education tab, listed at the URL below at housewares.org/education/presentations-webinars. Okay, so here are the free parts of your booth package. We talked about extracting some information from your kit. Okay, you're going to get lead retrieval. That's the gun that scans electronically from people's badges or other information, and then you can gather their contact information for post-show contacts. Buyers and media registration lists for international and domestic participants. The Freeman Concierge Elite Service. This is a service where exhibitors can resolve general contractor issues with a Freeman specialist from within your own booth. So you don't have to leave your booth to go to the Freeman desk to take care of things like wrapping up where your lost freight might be or something like that. You can have a Freeman rep work with you right from your own booth. You can also gain access to meeting room information, and also educational webinars and exhibitor updates. Participation in Housewares 365, which is an online information source about the Housewares and IHA. Pre-registration for participation in on-site judging for the Excellence in Booth Design Awards. That's my favorite. And signage. So those are the three parts of your booth package. The signage below is stated in 3 areas. The first of the 3 areas is per criteria agreement. Like if you have been screened into a certain area, you can put a sign up that is provided to you for free as long as you order it correctly, which is made in the USA. Smart home products. The second type of the signs, which is free, is available to all exhibitors, called New for the Home. The third item, which is available for free, is available to all IHA exhibiting members. So we talk a little bit about the Excellence in Booth Design Awards, which I'm very much a part of and I love to partake in. And I help to run it and on site, so you may see me on site with the judges and also giving out awards. So this is exclusive to our show. Pre-registered exhibitors are considered for on-site competition and awards in areas of creative lighting, graphic communication, logo presentation, merchandising fixtures, ways the product is presented, and the total campaign messaging. These are the areas that we'll focus on today, so you can feel that we're revving up for like the cooler part of the webinar here. Planning an awesome display booth? Pre-register for the Excellence in Booth Design Awards at the below URL. Okay, so let's get started. Your basic booth package starts with a slab of cement located on the show floor. That's it. You know, I put the like the electricity sign there, like, you know, as the shocker, because in some other display companies and some other trade show management companies, they might provide you a booth with your package. But now it's up to you at this show as the exhibitor to supply everything else to create an awesome display booth. So in a way, you were going to have a chance to really stand out more so than at other shows. So exhibitors' responsibility are signs, flooring, walls at 8 feet high, and booth display elements. The reason why I put walls at 8 feet high is, for example, if you get a 10 by 10 booth, don't be misled. It is not 10 by 10 by 10 high. It is 10 feet wide by 10 feet deep by 8 feet high. 8 feet high is the height. There are 3 basic ways to approach attaining your display booth. One's the Freeman turnkey booths for general areas and Discover design areas. The other is the exhibitor-owned booths, and the last is exhibitor-rented pop-up booths. So this is the first of the 2 pages for the Freeman turnkey booths for general areas. There is no shipping required of your display, and it's lower material handling costs if Freeman does provide your turnkey booth. It's ready for your arrival 1 day prior to the show opening, and additional display accessories will be available, and they're discounted if they're ordered 30 days prior to move-in. That brings us to February 1. Freeman offers custom designs to fit many budgets, and it can be enhanced with your own accessories as well, or with Freeman's rental furniture. So there's no rule against bringing in, let's say, an IKEA lamp and popping it into a Freeman turnkey booth. But you would supply, let's say, the IKEA lamp. The International Home and Houseware Show does not allow the use of pipe and drape. Whether turnkey or custom, the rear of your booth package must be finished in a neutral color to face your neighbors. Ask your sales manager for further information, or my personal tip is just be sure your exterior of your booth is painted in white, so your neighbors do not see a raw booth as your exterior. Okay, so this is the second page for Freeman turnkey booth packaging.
Matthew?
Oh, yes?
You know, now might be a good time to cover drayage. I haven't gotten a question yet, but I think it's probably good for the listeners to understand what drayage is, what it means, as we kind of throw this term around.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, drayage is like a big thing we talk about and a big issue, and it's going to be a bigger issue if you don't stay on top of it in terms of your your finances. So what you can do, first of all, let me back up. Let me define drayage and kind of jump up a little bit. It's also called materials handling in other trade show companies, so you might hear it as drayage or materials handling. It's the transportation of handling your exhibit materials from the receiving dock to your assigned booth space at any time during the surrounding event. This may be a separate cost from shipping goods to McCormick. So you might ship your goods to McCormick and then have it arrive, but the drayage fee will then begin to kick in from the dock to your booth. So when you're ordering your display equipment and anything that goes in your booth, you have to realize that drayage is charged by pound weight. So you kind of have to figure out like if something is worth it to pay for drayage and shipping and put it up on display in your booth. So, for example, you probably want something a little bit lighter in your booth to ship rather than something heavier. We'll talk about that a little bit later, especially when it comes to flooring. But you can take advantage of discounted rates by set dates prior to the show to receive the deepest discount rate on select items through Freeman. Place your orders online prior to the discount price deadline break of February 1. Most Freeman booth packages require a drayage fee, though. And after February 1, this fee will increase dramatically, so mark your calendars. And be sure to ask your Freeman representative about incorporating drayage and extra rental accessories into the fee when costing out your booth in advance of the show. You do have the right and the service to speak with a Freeman rep in advance of the show as well. All exhibitors have the option to rent the unique Discover Design booth package. However, it is mandatory for the Discover Design exhibitor to use this type of package should they choose to rent a turnkey from Freeman. These booth packages have features similar in attributes to the packages that we discussed in the general areas. So I know it's kind of getting a lot, and we can kind of like unearth that a bit more so. But unlike the other Freeman options, exhibitors may nail, paint, or staple into the walls provided in the Discover Design booth package. So contact your sales manager about that. And in the lower right corner, I put a Freeman booth where I know that they painted, they nailed, they put up their own logos right onto the wall. Exhibitors can also purchase their booths, which might be a little bit more custom. I wanted to talk with you about that just quickly. Exhibit services span from design, construction, installation, dismantling, and storage. So there's all types of these firms out there in the world beyond what Freeman can offer and does offer, called EACs. That's Exhibitor Appointed Contractor. So perform a cost-benefit analysis to see if this type of service from your EAC fits in your budget and needs, and contact your sales manager for our list of recommended EACs who really know how to work around McCormick and know how to deal with the union and know how to fill out order forms, etc. Their services can be a bit expensive though, but check out the URL below to our other webinar and white paper documents discussing ways to enhance your booth on a variety of budgets, and that's called Fundamentals of a Well-Designed Booth. So we kind of gave you like a little bit of a smattering of different types of booths, and here's the pop-up exhibit booths. They're rented or purchased, but they're generally purchased because people who are exhibitors may go from show to show with this booth. But it offers with things like upgrades like banners, stands, counters, cases, video support, walls, lights, packages, in which to store and ship the items. Usually these items are sold a la carte with things like flooring, custom graphics, furniture, lighting, videos, props that may be supplied by the same or different vendors. But I also kind of wanted to let you know that a lot of our new exhibitors or our small booth exhibitors, they'll Uber it to IKEA or Home Depot. So we've got in Chicago, there is Uber. There's also an IKEA or Home Depot nearby, and they hand drop off through the ASUV program. And basically, in a nutshell, ASUV is take nothing larger than an econo-sized minivan, and you could drop it off to a designated door and get on out and just bring it in yourself if it's by hand. And then you can donate locally purchased items post-show. There is a program to donate on site. You cannot just abandon your goods in the booth and think that it's a donation. You must register to have your goods donated before you depart the show, and then you can leave your goods in your goods in your booth as long as it's pre-designated for donation. So be sure to donate through the official program. You will be fined if your items are abandoned in your booth. But it's a great program, and I highly recommend it. Your booths.
Matthew, I have a question.
Yep, sure.
So the question is, can I use my own drapery on the back wall? I've done this at other trade shows. Okay,
that's a really good question. Legally, you can use your own drapery. However, it must be fire resistant, and you must be able to show the fire marshal, if they inspect, that you have the certificates to support the flame-proof, the ability of flame-proofing. So you can use your own back drapery. I've seen it, but it is not totally encouraged. I hope that helps to answer that question. I'm gonna continue on to the next section, your booth's marketing message. Your booth is used as a way to communicate and a communication vehicle. So what is the message that your firm needs to convey? You need to show about product education, and does your booth style transcend to other marketing channels? You know, that's a fancy way of saying, does your booth match the look of your website, brochures, business cards, advertising, social media, video content? This is also known as vertical marketing. Will the look of your booth appeal to your dream buyers? Who are your dream buyers? So since this is a visually elevated show, now's the time to consider how the strength of your complete marketing message will cut through. And that's one of the reasons why Nancy and I have scheduled this webinar so early in the cycle, is because we can give you guys time now to start thinking and ordering and saving money. And we're giving you plenty of time in advance of the show deadlines to think about how the strength of your complete marketing message will cut through, and how you can create and get those deadlines met while creating that marketing message. There is a free list of buyers, though. The IHA offers a registered buyers, a list of registered buyers to those who are aligned to attend the show, and it's available through the below website. So my question is would a stranger understand the use and attributes of your product in a 1 second? By the way, that's a long time. It should be about a half a second. That's about how long passersby visually absorb your entire booth from the aisle. It's kind of a mouthful, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But there's certain ways and styles to communicate your booth's marketing message. Through creative lighting, graphics and logo presentation, selecting the right display fixtures, video messaging. So what are the ways the products are being displayed? And we'll explore these topics in the next few sections of this same webinar. If your company, though, for example, let's start just by the dress code. If your company does not have a dress code, consider wearing a garment that complements your product with your company logo and colors and brand image. I mean, these four pictures at the bottom really show the company logo on the background of the wall, as well as on the garments that people are wearing. Our show maintains a professional atmosphere, and many of your fellow exhibitors may be wearing outfits such as suits as well. So these are examples of booths which communicate their product use and attributes in less than 1 second. I think that just by showing the 4 examples, we understand that how to use the product quite quickly, and also how to show the goods. The other thing that I found really great about our friends at Orla Kylie in the lower left corner is the fact that they actually blew up the pattern on their merchandise and put it on their display fixtures. I thought that was really cool. I'm going to keep moving along. These are more examples of display booths which communicate their product use and attributes within less than a second. I think that all of these really cut through, and if you're a buyer and you're walking through a really busy trade show floor and there's many people passing in front of you, you're going to get a chance to see what the merchandise is and its use in less than a second. And here's some examples of a 10 by 10 booths that show the same attributes. Okay, we're going to move on to lighting. Lighting's kind of a funny, tricky thing at a trade show. All extra illumination beyond lighting in Freeman's rental booth packages will require additional electrical orders. Establish electrical points within your booth before anything else gets placed and installed. And frequently asked questions about electrical use are posted on the show's website in the URL below, so be sure to take a picture of this screenshot. And for a deeper dive on lighting, please visit our Fundamentals of a Well-Designed Booth webinar. So there's all different types of lighting at the shows. There's rentals versus own lighting. Remember, there is no rule that you cannot use your own lighting. You can, like I said, bring in your own, illuminated special light from IKEA, let's say, or Home Depot. Lighting rentals through the venue are available, such as LEDs, clamp-on quartz halogens, overhead spots, extra booth package lights. So if you're thinking about renting lights from Freeman, you can visit through the ESM and gain access to the order forms, a little more education on the lights. Or you can purchase your own lights at a big box retailer. They carry many track lighting kits and individual lighting bulbs. Online retailers, LED, rope lights, quartz halogen, and incandescent lights. And I was just in IKEA the other day, in fact 2 days ago, and I noticed that they have the LED rope lights on a spool now. So you can get that right in store and check it out. And they even have the little cut lines so you can cut it with the scissors to the own dimensions of what you need in your booth. I thought that was really cool. And I stood there alone in IKEA thinking, I really need to let my exhibitors know this during the webinar. So the types of lighting that's typically used on site. Okay, so this is the general illumination called ambient lighting. It prevents against dimly lit venues and areas, and it supplies extra lighting, and it'll protect against dimly lit halls. And also at McCormick Center, the general lighting may not be enough. So I know you've seen this type of lighting in convention centers, or even in gyms, or giant stadiums or something like that. But exhibitors are encouraged to attain extra lights within their booths. This allows general illumination for safe and task and like work lighting only, but this may not be enough lighting to correctly show your products. Please know that it just may not be enough. The types of other lights and lamps that are out there are incandescent A-lamp, and an A-lamp in the industry is basically, like, if you get an idea, that's a symbol for it. The color rendering is warm, there's general illumination. With the halogen clamp-on lights that are available through Freeman, the color rendering is like blue and cool, and there's a general wash of illumination. Par lamp, which is kind of like a floodlight. The color rendering is warm. It's got a little more focused illumination with sharp shadows. A par lamp in a can, which is basically like a spotlight that's generally hung from the ceiling. It's warm, semi-focused in illumination, and these are kind of like the feelings of the different types of lights that you get at the show on each display booth. There are other types of lights that are a little bit more for like the punchy or the more like exotic lighting, if you will, called quartz halogen. These are the cool blue tones, punchy lights. They're sparkly reflections, great for chromes, great for whites and brights. A lot of the jewelers use this type of lighting. There's also warm tones and cool tones rendered through the LED spool, which I just talked about, available through IKEA or online as well. And I like the spool lighting because it goes into like areas that are a little awkward to get your big lights in, and it just adds a little kind of like a jewel tone in there. And then you all know fluorescence. I mean, if there's anybody who has not studied in school under fluorescence, or worked under fluorescence, or shopped under fluorescence, I would be surprised. But so you all know this. The color rendering is cool and blue. It's flat. It's great for soft shadows. It's great for rear illumination. And it's really good for like broad open lighting as well. So you're going to see these types of lights and lamps on site. We're going to move on to graphics. The graphics can be pre-printed either through Freeman. They do have a graphic printing surface, or through your own vendor, and then you have to bring it in yourself. So all printed material must be fire resistant. So if you're thinking about printing on foam board, it must be fire resistant foam board. And I wanted to have a conversation with you about foam board. It's good for one-time use, but that's about it. It usually gets dinged up, and it doesn't look so hot after the second use. But if you're going to invest in your display, I would suggest rolled PVC panels. That's the same material that you use for pipes, but it comes rolled, meaning like as a sheet. So it's a rolled PVC panels with adhered prints, so you can print onto it, and that's good for graphics for long-term use, because so if it like falls off the back wall or something during setup, it's not going to ding up, it's not going to get damaged like foam board. So keep text to a minimum when laying out your graphics. This is an international show, so buyers with English as a second language may not be able to quickly absorb, lengthy text. The average buyer needs to understand the message within about a half a second. And that's for people who have English as a first and second language. So lighter colors usually tend to make a booth pop or jump out, within a busy trade show floor. So this is an example of a really busy trade show floor. The average buyer needs to understand the message within about a second. So there's a lot of visual competition on the floor. So guys, just like visually absorb this for a moment. And then I'm going to show you another slide, which is the same one. And that is your neighborhood of small booths. So if you're an exhibitor attending this webinar and you're going to be setting up a small booth, that's going to be kind of like a neighborhood in which you might be placed. So you're going to be surrounded potentially by larger booths with much more visual competition. So, I mean, let me just go back. Yes?
We have a question.
Yes.
So the question is, can I just copy images from the internet to enlarge in my booth graphics or for my booth graphics?
Oh, that's a really good question. I get that one a lot, and thank you for asking it. You just can't copy anything from the internet or the web. Well, first of all, there's legal ramifications, so you have to like either purchase it or get it for free legally. But the second thing is a lot of the web pictures are low resolution, and most printers, if they're going to be receiving artwork from you, require a resolution of 300 dpi or higher, which means like dots per inch, which basically in a nutshell means when you blow it up, it's not going to pixelate and become super blurry and weird looking. So there's two things that you must be considerate of when just getting like stock imagery from the internet. One is the printability for the DPI per square inch, and the other is the legal right to use that in a public space, that image in a public space. But you can see here in this slide that I have up now that there are some really big, wonderful graphics, especially Soiree Home, the image within the blue circle to the lower right. I mean, that really like pops itself well. So within Soiree Home, they actually had a really interesting logo placement. So let's talk about logos here. Logos and graphics can be pre-printed either through Freeman or another vendor. Keep in mind that all pre-printed material must be fire resistant. And you have to be able to show the documents if the fire warden comes by that this is a fire resistant item. Printed on fire resistant foam board is a good technique for one-time use, and rolled panels are great. Traditionally, companies place their logos at eye level, centered on the back wall, on the side walls adjacent to the aisle. So it's not necessarily in the middle of the logo. The logo is not necessarily in the middle of the sidewall. It's usually toward the aisle. So keep away from placing logos lower than 5 feet off the floor. This area may be blocked by people. And you know what? I hope that it's blocked by people, because that means you're going to have a busy booth. So keep that logo a little bit off the floor. Check out a video on logo placement for a typical 10 by 10 booth by our recommended vendor, Display It. And I highly recommend that you guys take a screenshot of this and visit this URL, because they have some great ideas of where to put the logo in a typical display booth. These are examples in our own show of where to put logos. Like you can see that New Soda on the upper left corner put their logo toward the aisle. All right, so that's kind of what I mean by toward the aisle. Same with our friends at Sophistiplate, which is the upper right corner, and they actually put their logo up pretty high too. I purposely put this picture in of people standing in their booth area, but you can see that the logo is still featured. People are not blocking the logo, so they did a very smart thing by putting their logo up high. Makma on the lower left corner, that's our company from Thailand. They put it on the back wall, and then their sub-logos of their merchandise selection on the side walls. And Finium also put up their logos, not necessarily in the center, but on to the side and on the exterior as well. So it's not just a matter of how nice your logo is, because I know you have great logos, but it's where you put it that is pretty strategic as well. Consider photos of your merchandise in action combined with your company logo for cool graphics. Keep in mind that your graphic layout could be in the same style as the rest of your marketing communications. This is called speaking with one voice, or we talked about before as vertical marketing. Most printing services accept vector images, which allow clear definition for best printed results. We talked about this too. The printing vendors prefer to receive artwork with no less than 300 DPI, and they're usually, the graphic programs are usually Adobe Illustrator or something like that, and have file extensions such as .ai, .eps, and .pdf. So you can use the stock images for a small fee or even for free, and some stock image websites are like Shutterstock, iStock, Pixels, or burst.shopify.com. Exhibitors with small booths are not permitted to hang company identification signs from the ceilings of McCormick Place. It also gets pretty expensive too. So check this out, graphics educate. I put some of these examples of our past show and how we just put up graphics on the back wall and how they educate. I love these examples, especially the lower left and lower right. Hey, clean up your act. Now serving good design. I mean, how great is that? It says it in less than a second. It really sets the tone. It is engaging. It's a very clean graphic design. I love all of these examples, and I really was excited to share these with you on today's webinar. And then graphics also kind of sell the story through text. Like the lower right is the gentleman's hardware for true gents. The upper right is never stop discovering yourself through closet design. I mean, how cool is that, right? So there's some really great ideas of how graphics can sell the story through text. Excuse me. Graphics also set the tone through photos too. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a product photo. It can be like on the upper right, like the the beach of Greece or something like that, or the upper left, a Mediterranean scene to really set the tone. You can also set the tone with enlarged graphics and products. Thermos does a great job of this, Alfie, Eva Solo, and Orla Kiley, like I said before, they actually took the pattern of their merchandise and enlarged it on their display pedestals. What a great idea. So if you've got some really cool attributes to your product, feel free to enlarge those within your display booth. They show the products, graphics show the products in action. So it shows like how the goods will be used and the best way to show the goods. Now, let's move on to flooring. Now, I didn't think it was necessary for me to show you guys pictures of carpeting. I mean, I think you guys all pretty much know what carpeting looks like. But I needed to talk with you about some things that Freeman, our general contractor, offers. They do have a basic gray carpet with previously discussed booth packages, and they do have a selection of carpet colors and textures for an upgrade. Carpet printing services. So they do have the ability to print on carpet, and usually that's with a closed weave carpet, like a closed loop. Also, they have floor padding. You can get floor padding. You know, of course, wear comfortable shoes and foot protection because you're working for the week on cement, a kind of a cement surface. Exhibitors can also use their own fire-resistant flooring, such as tiles of wood, carpet, interlocking foam, plastic, or rubber. I've seen all these at our show. Hardwood panels, wood panels on the roll. Yes, wood panels do come on a roll, and they kind of unroll and become a floor. Printed laminate, like your printed carpet, your printed adhesive applications, all the printing can go onto the floor as well, but do not apply adhesive graphics directly onto McCormick cement floor. So these are all areas that you can apply graphics to as well. Much of your flooring budget will consist of drayage fees. That's the materials handling. Again, I put this definition in there. This fee may be separate from the cost of your shipping goods to McCormick. So danger, guys. Drayage fees can be a lot of money. They are determined by pound weight, and so what I would do is incorporate your drayage fees when performing your cost evaluations in advance of ordering any flooring. So be aware of your aisle carpet color prior to selecting a booth carpet color. Don't order something that looks like your aisle carpet color, so you don't appear to be engulfed by the surrounding aisle carpets. You can look for your aisle carpet color on the website listed below beginning the 7th of next month, as per Freeman. So for example, if you have all black carpeting in your booth and you are going to be surrounded by all black carpet in your aisles, I would suggest to go with another booth color carpet aisle. I'm sorry, another booth color carpet to kind of stand out from the aisle so it doesn't look like you're engulfed by the aisle. There are other types of flooring beyond carpeting. There's wood tiles, there's flooring strips, foam tiles, linoleum roll. So these are all kind of successful ways to carpet and floor your booth. So let's talk about fixtures now that we talked about graphics and flooring. The fixtures are like the furniture in your booth that showcases the product. Display fixtures perform and they assist in promoting alone or as a supporting element really during the sales discussion. So they perform you can perform a cost analysis before deciding to use custom fixtures. Stock fixtures may just do the trick. Okay, so this is, if you're a new exhibitor to our show, I'm not so sure I would say to go out and get some custom fixtures when you can just maybe get something on stock. Consider the merchandise and its packaging before planning its focus area or on the walls for the floor displayer. So you kind of have to figure out like what your merchandise looks like, what the packaging looks like, and how you want it to be displayed. So for example, if you've got a package that is put together and creates one visual element with a number of different packages, you need to be sure to get the right display fixture, such as a flat shelf for that. Aim for how your merchandise will present itself to a buyer. We just talked about that just a little bit. So many exhibitors try to emulate how their merchandise will look on the store shelves. This gives buyers a glimpse of how your goods will be featured and will move within the retail environment. So these are the types of display fixtures on site that you're going to see. There's stock fixtures, which are basically like tables and I call them like donut fixtures with a hair dryer on the upper right. There's also custom fixtures like Utopia had, things like that that are a little more tailored to like a view of what the merchandise could be within their world of product design. There's also a function of the fixture as well, and they can provide education. So Nespresso wrapped some of their display fixture areas to further educate with graphics. And also on the bottom, we're showing that display fixtures assist in sales. So it's almost like having another salesperson in your display booth. So video use. More and more I've been seeing uses of video in the trade show displays. Videos create interest to draw visitors in from the aisle. So keep the video monitors elevated to eye level. Present the video in the same style as the marketing message. Exhibitors have the option to rent video monitors through the official audiovisual vendor. And you can also check the rental prices and compare the retail prices before doing this. So consider that it may be less expensive to purchase equipment once you're in Chicago from like Best Buy or something like that and donate it post-show. So it kind of lets you know the little hint that renting from our audiovisual vendor may or may not be more expensive than just getting a, like a flat screen and then donating it post-show. You must secure your monitor. Chances are it'll walk. I don't want to be too negative about it, but I do want to give you and shed light on safety in the program. And you can also donate through the official donation program as well. There is free Wi-Fi at the show. It is advisable to have your video players from hardware, though, such as a thumb drive or a disc, because Wi-Fi service may depend, on the amount of users, and there's going to be a lot of people at the show. So yes, there's Wi-Fi at the show, but no, I would not recommend that you run your video and depend on it through Wi-Fi. The video software and the most successful trade shows are about 5 to 7 minutes in length. They explain product attributes. They're well-paced. They have compelling music or track, engaging voiceover, solid on-screen copy points. They present in the same style as the marketing message. And so also practice the good neighbor policy by monitoring your volume control to keep from disrupting business in your neighboring booths. So within your video, continue to speak with one marketing voice for a seamless position within the market. And these are the types of video presentations you'll see on site. There's use with one voice like Thermos, and a company that talks about recycling. They're all continuing to talk about that with the same look and feel and that same voice and that same tone throughout their entire marketing campaign. Luminarc and Ucopia also put in videos to kind of project to the aisle. Those lower pictures are taken from the aisle. And also you'll see different types of video presentations which are self-projected. With our friends at Nespresso, did kind of like a cool projection within their display booth. And then there's also like interactive videos. So there's all types of video presentations, and you can show all different things, but one thing that is just my favorite is the types of videos that show and feature attributes of the product, real basic. So these are like what's going on with a product and how the product is sold or marketed, or a special attribute of the product. I'd also like to talk about your office and storage area. This is an area that is often overlooked by our new exhibitors because they're, it's such a hard thing to get a new and small booth introduced at the show that sometimes you kind of forget about these things. Your office and storage area can include areas for meetings and storage within your floor plan, and you can lay that out in your booth beforehand. So these are things that are pretty necessary. Coat and shoe storage. Remember that Chicago is going to be cold then, so you're probably going to need like a change of boots to shoes and a winter coat storage. Storage for tech gadgets and wires and stationary items, collaterals, giveaways, small files. Your office area can be a small conference area. So the conference areas are not required to include seating. I just wanted to let you know that. Keeping a bistro table free of seating can add a quicker conversation, higher turn of buyers, best booth traffic. If you keep an open laptop on your conference table, you can apply your logo to the top of your open laptop, therefore exposing your logo to the aisle even more so. So the types of meeting areas that you're going to see in smaller booths are kind of like casual. In this Decker booth on the upper left corner, they're seated, and there's more of a formal gathering area as well in the lower areas. So you're going to see all different types of conference areas, and this one display booth actually incorporated their conference area into their display area, into their product attribute zone. It was just really a very well thought out booth, so that your conference area could become part of the booth design itself rather than like an ancillary in a corner. And the products can also be enhanced by the design and the look of the meeting area. And by the way, the upper meeting areas are with their own display furniture. They went out to like a big box retailer to get it, something like IKEA or something like that, Wayfair. But below is Freeman rental furniture. So you can rent your furniture from Freeman too. These are the types of concealed storage areas. On the top, our friends at Tovolo, they put in an angled, like secret, if you want to call it, storage area. And on the bottom to the lower left, You can see a detail of their concealed door, which they ran graphics over, that goes into their storage area. The Smart Baker on the bottom in the middle created a very small 1 meter by 1 meter storage area, and on the exterior of that they put their logo as well as their video. And this is a real cool one on the lower right in their storage area for 360 knife block. Their storage area is the middle pedestal, which is also their shipping crate, which is also their display fixture. And what they did is that's a custom shipping crate that the guy made, because he's in the business of making custom wood, like their wood holders for the knives. And he put like a sleeve, a stretched material with their company logo over it. So that really is like a triple threat. Great idea. Now, here's my favorite area of the webinar, product arrangement. Placing your product with graphics will convey special activities within the show, like product attributes, what's special about the product, is there a deal, is there a price break, is there incentives, is there a show special or promotion, are there available services beyond pricing, like shipping for this show only? So displaying similar goods placed together can increase units per transaction, UPTs, and entice buyers to purchase a wider selection and demonstrates flexibility in the retail environment. So let's introduce our new hero. This is like our main piece of merchandise. It's very important to arrange your goods within your display with a strategy to increase sales. Place the most important item or items in highly visible areas. These items will be poised for the most sales, highest volume of inventory and visibility. We will call this our new hero. Bring extra heroes for things like photos, displays, repeat merchandising, and for a deeper dive on product visual merchandising, please visit our Fundamentals of a Well-Designed Booth webinar at the housewares.org URL listed below. Okay, so our new hero placement can be like at the top of a pyramid or shown in a family. Also, the product arrangement with the new hero relationship. Now let's introduce the Sidekick. Next, place your secondary items surrounding your new hero, or in spots where it will be physically easier to refer to when discussing newness. We will call these your Sidekick pieces. Sometimes the Sidekick arrives with high visibility, and other times he might sneak in unexpectedly, which just brings us to our next slide. So on the top, visible Sidekicks. You can see that the coffee press, the coffee maker, the visible Sidekick is the smaller version, as well as the visible Sidekick is obviously like the egg tray or the bread holder. Okay, on the bottom, there's Sidekicks who creep in. That is the Sidekick who just kind of, kicks back a little bit more so. Well, so with the baking goods, the creeped-in Sidekick, if you will, is actually on the lower shelf. And on the right part, the hero product is obviously the polka-dotted tea maker. But it seems like the hero got upstaged by the Sidekick who crept in because the buyer is interested in the toaster, which is, in this case, the Sidekick. So your ancillary items for add-ons can be placed in tertiary areas of real estate. Wait, what does that mean, guys? We'll call this style of merchandising your flow of goods. These items can like float between your stories, creating a flow and possibility to increase sales. Continuing with our analogy of superhero film, these items play the role of the townspeople in that they sway easily to the situation and can add to the story. They're the ones who brings the pitchforks and the fire torches to the town, and they're looking for the hero and they're looking for the Sidekick. And then can you identify an item in your product line that will float well, whether low or high tide? So here's an example of some flow merchandise or the townspeople. It can be placed in many different locations. Like, for example, the stirring spoons on the upper left, the upper right, the whisks. And I feel that, I put this like caption in of the townspeople looking for, the villain and the hero and the Sidekick because they play the part of the townspeople. So, for example, in the lower right, the wine and the martini glasses or cups really are the hero and the sidekick. And the townspeople are the martini shaker and the servers. I feel like those are the townspeople. But without the whole cast, it would really kind of fall apart. You know, if you kind of put your hand over the sidekick and the townspeople, the hero just kind of doesn't do much. So altogether, it looks like a really complete family. Okay, so we talked about the villain as well. Don't let the villain attack your merchandising. The villain, dun dun. This is the area, like if this were an old-fashioned, black and white horror film. He comes, he's introduced. He can possibly erode sales within your own booth. Present cluttered presentations where product no longer looks good and product blocks other product. No marketing message cuts through. There's poor strategic product placement and what's happening. Fixtures won't show merchandise well and messy work areas prevail. Your project manager will be able to identify risk areas to prevent the villain from making an attack. Here, this is where he attacks. Don't let the villain erode those sales. I put a picture of the villain and he says, I'll get that pesky visual merchandising lector. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but look at the pictures that we've shown of how the villain has attacked versus the previously shown pictures of how the hero and the sidekick have been presenting. Like in here, they tell a story. There's horizontal merchandising with the hero kind of upstaging the villain. It shows a family. It's a really clean presentation compared to the previous slide. There's also vertical merchandising as opposed to horizontal merchandising, and they feature an array of goods. They can also show a family of goods on a vertical merchandising. I thought that picture on the lower right was especially cool because that's not traditionally how you would show that product. And the visual merchandising can be vertical and showcases in color selections. So ask your sales manager and your ESM. They'll be your best friends. We encourage you to contact your sales manager if you require information or have questions. Sales manager contact information is found on the staff website page below at the IHA organized website. You may receive a call or request a free consultation with Sharon Wojtek. She's our operations specialist for new exhibitors. She'll discuss the logistical aspects of the show and your individual stand. Sharon is available before the show and on site. All exhibitors are welcome to register for the Excellent in Booth Design Awards. And we're proud to offer a high-end show. This may be a high-end show, and we'd like you to kind of be guided away from things you may have witnessed at other shows, such as draped tables as a reception desk, arriving to the show with no booth package and no walls, depending on your neighbors to supply their walls as your booth package walls. Past exhibitors have suggested also steering away from using stock signs for other trade shows, applying sticky floor graphics to the cement, showcasing with a messy office, and depending on general illumination within the convention hall to illuminate your booth. So friends don't let friends arrive to market with an unplanned booth. Pipe and drape options must be pre-approved by your sales manager. We want you to have fun, be creative, and feel good about planning for and working in your booth display. For a deeper discussion on booth display and product presentation, please visit our webinar at Fundamentals of a Well-Designed Booth. And check out Daniel Cozio. He's just trying to unearth himself during setup days, and our friends who are kind of dancing in the textile booth and the showcase models showing the inverted umbrella. They're all having a good time, and they're all being creative and having fun. Does your booth hit the target? Ask me to check out your booth while on site. I'll be on site, and your stand could be featured on this page too. I'd love for it to be featured on this page. Here's some more examples of great booth designs as a result of attending this webinar and speaking with me and working in conjunction with your Freeman rep and your sales managers as well. So I'm about to wrap up. Are there any other questions?
I don't think we have any other questions, but I have a few like housekeeping notes.
Yeah, sure.
So just real quickly, thank you for attending today. Matthew is really an excellent source. I did get some questions about if you can have copies of the deck for URLs and whatnot. So this is being recorded, this webinar, and we will send you out a link to get to the webinar page on the website, and then you can kind of scroll through that. If there's a particular URL you're after and you can't scroll forward, I've actually never listened to one of the recorded webinars, but you can always contact myself, Nancy Michael, and Michael at housewares.org, and I'd be happy to retrieve any of these URLs for you. Just another quick thing, show dates are very early this year. Show opens March 2nd, which is Saturday, and closes March 5th, which is Tuesday, so please plan accordingly. It's really, really early this year. The housing link is live and ready to go, so if you have not booked your housing, please do that. On Peak is our official housing provider. If you're getting emails or whatnot from other housing people, they're not affiliated with the show, and I recommend you do not go through any of those third parties. They are usually scamming. The marketing kit mailed, you should have your copy. That hard copy is meant to be used in conjunction with the website. We did a webinar yesterday on the marketing kit, which is also live and recorded, so you can listen to that if you missed it. Our next one on that will be December 11th, which is Tuesday. And then following on December 12th, Wednesday, Matthew will be conducting another webinar, Fundamentals of a Well-Designed Booth. So hopefully you'll tune in for that, but you can always ask any questions. We're here to help you. Myself, Nancy, or your sales manager, we can help you get the answers you need. That's all I got.
Thanks, Nancy, and thank you all for being a great audience. You're also welcome to contact me in advance of the fair. I am available, and I look forward to working with everybody.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.